So, let me tell you a little story about a bloke we'll call Tom. Good guy, regular dad, not perfect, who is, but loves his kid and just wants to be involved. Enter CAFCASS. Now, when Tom walked into his safeguarding interview, he thought, this is my chance. I'll be fair, factual, and child-focused. Bless him. Because what actually happened is CAFCASS had already written their script before it even sat down. First question out of the gate. Are you concerned about the mother's parenting? Now, Tom knows the game, right? He's read up, he's seen how this works, so he gives the perfect answer. I believe co-parenting is important, and I have some concerns about consistency in our child's routine. Nice, diplomatic, logical. The CAFCASS officer didn't write nothing down, not a word. She just nodded her head like a therapist in a budget drama series and moved on. But then it was time for the mother's allegations, and suddenly the officer is scribbling like J.K. Rowling's writing another Harry Potter book. Now, let's pause here. Let's talk about the pen test. You ever notice how a CAFCASS officer only takes notes when it suits them? It's like their pen only works one way. If you're making a reasonable point about co-parenting, pen down. If your ex says he raises his voice, so suddenly it's a quill to parchment, full courtroom drama. Anyway, sorry, back to Tom. He notices the bias, but he keeps his cool because the calm man wins, even when CAFCASS casually suggests he takes a parenting course. Let's get one thing very straight. Tom doesn't need a parenting course. His child has never been at risk. No. Safeguarding concerns? No. No welfare concerns, no welfare issues. But CAFCASS love a parenting course. It makes them feel useful. It's like giving a placebo pill to a hypochondriac. So Tom asks, would the mother also be required to take this course? You know, for balance. Silence. CAFCASS blinks, just like he's just spoke Latin. Balance? Equality? No. That's not the business model. And here's the best part. At the final hearing, when CAFCASS was questioned on why they hadn't recorded Tom's concerns, their response, he didn't present them at the time, not in a way that was indicated any significant worry. Right, so unless you're sobbing into the hands of your setting like you had yourself on fire, your concerns don't count. That's the Jedi mind trick. CAFCASS doesn't just control the narrative, they control which parts even get written down. And that, my friends, is why you have to play the game smarter. So next time you're in a CAFCASS interview, watch the pen. If it's not moving, you're not being heard. And if it's moving at the wrong times, you're being stitched up. Stay calm, stay child-focused, and above all, make them write it down. Just so, what we want to do here is we want to have some certain behaviours. And that's why you have to play the game smarter. You can't just turn up, tell the truth, and expect justice, because CAFCASS isn't just listening, they're selectively recording. But if you know how to handle yourself, how to talk in the language that they understand, and how to keep control of the conversation, then suddenly the narrative changes. And that's what we're going to talk about next. How to survive CAFCASS Jedi mind tricks style. Most men don't just lose it in family court because of unfairness. They lose because they walk into CAFCASS blind, thinking facts matter and surely they'll see the truth. Mate, the truth is whatever gets written down. So here are some things, 5 things you can do to flip the script and make sure that for once you're setting the record straight. And firstly, obviously, you have to lead with child-centered language. Most dads walk in talking about their rights, their struggles, and CAFCASS is conflict-driven. Wrong move. Instead, make everything about the child. You're not fighting for access, you're fighting for consistency in your child's life. You're not being denied your rights. You're concerned about the child's stability and the emotional well-being. Speak like this, and suddenly the pen starts moving in your favour. 2. Take ownership without taking the blame. Own your shit. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They either deny everything, making themselves look dishonest, or they apologise for stuff they didn't do, which makes CAFCASS label them as the problem. The trick is, own your shit without taking the blame for things outside of your control. Say, there have been communication issues, and I'm actively working on improving them for my child's sake. That's called being a reasonable parent, and CAFCASS loves a reasonable parent. Number 3, demonstrate a plan for co-parenting. Most men, most people fight for time, but CAFCASS wants to know what you're going to do with that time. Have a plan. Talk about school drop-offs, activities, routines. Be the dad that has a clear structure. Say things like, I'd love to be involved in homework and school events. I've looked into local clubs that my child might enjoy. That way, when the ex says he doesn't care about his child's needs, CAFCASS is sitting there with the receipt saying, well, actually he does. Number 4, stay calm even when provoked. Now, here's where the men crash and burn, reacting emotionally. And I get it. You're being lied about. You're being treated unfairly. But the system is testing you. Anger equals aggressive father. Frustration equals conflict-driven parent. So instead, hit them with the reverse escalation trick. Lower your voice, slow down your speech, and let them be the emotional ones. Because in court, the calm man wins. Number 5, show you're open to guidance. Be humble. And finally, the biggest CAFCASS hack most men will ignore. Show that you're open to feedback, even if it's rubbish. Say, I'm happy to engage in resources that support my parenting. My goal is to take the best outcome for my child. Why? Because if you resist, you're difficult. If you accept, you're cooperative. And a cooperative dad is harder to paint them as being the problem. Remember Tom, the guy whose concerns mysteriously didn't get written down? The guy who tried to stitch up with the parenting course while ignoring the mother's issues? Tom's mistake wasn't that he was a bad dad. His mistake was the fact that he assumed CAFCASS would be fair. But now, you know better. Now you know how to walk into that interview and make sure that, for once, the right things get written down. And if you get this right, then CAFCASS hands over the report to the judge of the first hearing. And you won't be reading about a high conflict father. They'll be reading about calm, child-focused, solution-driven dad. And that is how you win the game before it even starts. I hope this helps. Until next time, peace and love. Lila's glove.